العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخير خلق الله أجمعين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله ونهجه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Dear respected brothers and elders, time doesn't allow us to discuss these surah in much detail. We'll just discuss a little bit of an overview of a few surahs. We'll start with Surah Yunus, where we left off yesterday from Surah Tawbah. And Surah, just to quickly go through the brief summary of Surah Hud. It's very similar to Surah Yunus. It's very similar to Surah Hud. Allah Ta'ala in there talks about the basic objectives of Deen, Tawheed, Risala, and also the inevitability of the hereafter. And we'll just discuss a small little clause, if not an ayah, and we'll just discuss a little clause that is very specific to the surah. It isn't like the second or third ayah of the Quran. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنَّ لَهُمْ قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. Allah says that, give glad tidings to the believers, and who will have a perfect place with their Lord. Now, the interpretation of this has been done differently by various mufassirun and commentators. Over here was to be recognized here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word qadam, and qadam in English as well means step. Means a step forward. Now, just like even in Urdu as well, when we say in Urdu as well, qadam badhao, meaning like step ahead. And in English as well, you take a step forward. So it's actually considered as something that, as because it's the medium of, or it's considered the medium of one's effort or one's advancement. What's meant over here is like a higher rank. And this Allah Ta'ala is highlighting for us that this is a one step ahead. This is one step of advancement. That inshallah, this is something abadi, this is something eternal, and Allah Ta'ala will, this type of advancement is going to be eternal. This eternal will always lasting forever and ever. And it's not the fact that it's not specific with time, and it's actually drawing a comparison between the progression in this world, in this temporary world, and the advancement of the hereafter. Whereas the advancement of the hereafter is forever. And over here we have advancement, we move up ranks in this world, or in work life, or be anything in office works, or in any team, we advance. But that advancement is always temporary. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using this word as qadama sidqin. So He also links it in with sidq. So Allah Ta'ala is actually drawing the two comparisons, or He's actually drawing, He's trying to show the two opposites here, that one is an eternal step and one is a temporary step. So over here, Allah Ta'ala has actually linked this with qadama sidqin. And now, what importance does sidqin have over here? Is Allah Ta'ala is saying that some commentators say that sidq over here means complete sincerity. And this has it's not just lip service. Nobody can just say the kalama like this, la ilaha illallah Muhammad, so you can profess faith and then don't act upon it. This is what this ayah is saying. Some commentators say so that the meaning of this ayah is the fact that somebody wholeheartedly accepts the kalima and actually does amal upon his deen as well. And some say, some mufassirun also say the fact that the person will completely freeze on the day of Qiyamah, when we all stand up in our makanakum, as the way it says in the Quran, we'll all stick into our own places. The only people that will be able to move will be the people of the truthful people, the people of believers. Only them will be able to take a step forward. So this, just a little bit of an overview of this one ayah that we had. I thought it's an interesting clause, so I just thought I'd mention it to you. Over here, moving on to the next surah Hud. And like I said, Surah Hud has a large comparison with Surah Yunus, and is also called, the Mufassirun call it the sister of Surah Yunus. Over here, something that's I would like to highlight over here, that there's a hadith that is mentioned by Imam Tirmidhi rahimahullah and Hakim, that they narrate, Ibn Abbas, the narrator of the hadith, where he says that, I think Shaykh knows, I think, Abu Bakr says to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you know, that Shibta ya Rasulullah, you've grown great, what's aged you? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied that Shayyabatni Hudun wa akhawatuha, that's the Hud, Surah Hud and its sisters. And he employed, and there's another riwayah that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually names out all the Surah Waqi'ah, Surah Mursalat, Surah Takwir, Surah Naba. These surah, the Nabi of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he actually highlights these surah to be the frightening surahs that actually, imagine, these caused Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to grey. Rahmatan lil Alameen, and a person who was guaranteed Jannah, yet it caused him to grey, that he doesn't cause us to shed a single tear. And out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then over here, the reason why this caused Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to grey was because of the fact that Allah has given a very frightening description of Qiyamah in this surah. So again, Allah mentions many things in this surah. Obviously, it's difficult to go through rather quickly, but in Allah mentions in it kind of gives a warning to the Quraysh over here as well, that many nations came before you, but they were destroyed. They had similar demands to you, but they were destroyed. And again, it's kind of reminding Quraysh also of the fact that they keep asking for angels, or bring an angel down. You want to see an angel? Bring an angel down. So Allah mentions in this surah, when the couple of angels, or the two angels, I think it was, they came to see Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then they went to, because they came to see Ibrahim alayhi salam, and they told Ibrahim alayhi salam that they were going to go punish the qawm of Lut alayhi salam. So over here, Allah is actually teaching them a small lesson here, that the angels the coming down of angels is not always as mercy. Sometimes it could be for atonement, and if you keep asking for angels to come down, then you never know that these it might even be a means of punishment for you as well. And also Allah has taught in this surah a lesson, the fact that there's many powerful nations have been before you. Many powerful nations have been before you, and they've been destroyed. They're a lot smarter than you, a lot stronger than you, and a lot they were advanced in every manner, but yet they were destroyed. And Allah was giving a firm warning in this surah as well. And we're telling him that if you carry on the way you are, you can brace for punishment as well. So now we move on to Surah Yusuf. Again, a very interesting surah. So I would like to discuss this in a little bit more. Inshallah, I'll do a bit now, and inshallah I'll do a bit in the next session. Inshallah. In this surah, Allah breaks the fashion of what He's done before. Allah, in general, Allah, when He mentions Anbiya, He mentions them time and time again. They're all reoccurring messages. If you see the Adam alayhi salam comes in the beginning, it comes in somewhere in the middle, it comes somewhere, many paras later. It keeps reoccurring. For example, Ibrahim alayhi salam, the mention of Ibrahim alayhi salam comes in many places. There's a full surah dedicated to him as well. They like this. But in Surah Yusuf, alayhi salam, this surah, Allah has only mentioned it once, all together. The whole surah has come down in one go, and all in chronological order as well. So this is one particular thing with this surah as well. And Allah has called it many names as well. Allah called it in the third ayah of Surah, Allah calls it Ahsan al-Qasas. And Ahsan al-Qasas, it means the best of stories. And what's amazing here as well is the fact that Allah has used the word qasas. Qasas means something to trace back, like trace back your footsteps. And the reason why qasas has a more relevant meaning over here is because these stories were actually traced back to all the Yahud as well. The Yahud also used to pass them generation to generation, and now they came down to the Muslims as well. So that's why Allah gave it the names of qasas, or qisas in both, and the word has both variations. Now, Allah says over here that Allah also calls the ayatul lisa'ilin. And the reason why Allah calls the ayatul lisa'ilin as signs for the people who are questioning is because the Yahud actually came up to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to question Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and try and verify, is he a messenger? So they asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam multiple questions in a riddle form as well. Many Israelites themselves, they didn't know the questions, they didn't know the answers to these questions. This is why they were posing very difficult questions in a very difficult fashion as well to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam about why did the Banu Israel, why did these Israelites move, why did they leave Palestine, the Holy Land, to go to Misr? Why did they go to Misr? This was one of the questions they asked. They asked the second question, which was, why did they return from Misr to Philistine? Why did they go back to the Holy Land? The answer to this question actually comes in Surah Taha. And also the fact that, which prophet was blind and had many sons. So they asked these three questions. And obviously this is why Allah has mentioned it, has mentioned in the Quran that is ayatun lisa'ilin, that these are for people who have questions. There's one riwayah of the fact that why this surah was revealed was, obviously the one riwayah is the one I just mentioned, the fact that Nabi these people questioned Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So as an answer, this surah came in. And also one riwayah that Abdullah ibn Abbas says that he asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, why don't you narrate any stories to us? And in reply of this, that I give this story to us, and Ahsan al-Qasas, one of the best of stories you can find. And again, to be honest, all I can say is the fact that if you have time, if Allah gives you time, read, please. If you don't read anything, get a tafsir, advise you to get tafsir ibn Kathir and read the story. It's an absolute beautiful story. It's a beautiful story, honestly. And Allah Ta'ala is quite beautiful. What more usual? So Allah is saying over here that Allah beautifully tests Yusuf alayhi salam in a very in multiple fashions. In very various ways, Allah tests him with trials and tribulations. Allah tests him with shahawat, with desires. Allah tests him with even iqtidar, with qudra. Allah gives him power after what he had been through. He could easily take a revenge, but he taught humanity. Allah is teaching humanity by narrating the story to us that how to act in all these situations. That's there. Again, look at it. And again, the reason why I'm emphasizing this as well as a story, the way Quran has been given importance by the Sahaba, by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He got so upset when people turned away from Quran. And this is the incident of Umar ibn Khattab, when he goes, and he gets a portion of some Torah. He gets a portion of Torah from one of his tribesmen from Banu Qurayza. And he comes to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he starts reading out to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gets upset. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says to him that, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَوْ أَنَّ مُوسَى كَانَ حَيًّا مَا وَسِعَهُ إِلَّا أَن يَتَّبِعَنِي. That even if he was alive, that he would have no option but to follow me. So this again another riwayah, Abdullah ibn Thabit, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got so angry to the extent that his blessed, the color of the blessed face of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam changed. This is why again then Abdullah ibn Thabit said, don't you see the face of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Don't you see him angry? And he looked and straight away he recognized the fact that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was angry. So he read the famous Raditu billahi rabba wa bil-Islam dina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's temper kind of calmed down, and he said pretty much the same thing to him, that if Musa Alayhi Salam was to come to you, even now as well, and you were to leave me, you'd be misguided. And that's the fact that you are my followers and you will follow the Sharia that I bring. And this is why he also says to him that don't read all the other parchments of the Ahl Kitab, because you might get something that is something that is true and you might falsify it. You might get something false and you might verify it. So this is why Nabi Allah, but again we see the importance highlighted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam of the Quran. So my latest brother elders, I do the final request as well, that request for you to all read this surah and actually take lessons from it. I would wish to do it myself, but obviously time doesn't allow us. And again, in some parts of Masjid, even in England, they just focus on Surah Yusuf for the whole of Ramadan. It's such a beautiful surah, that's why they go through all of Ramadan, they just go to Surah Yusuf. So, wa akhir da'wana, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin.